because I just found a whole bag of chocolate for me. That's all I need. You guys can have the salty stuff. I'll take the chocolate here. Also, we just want to remind you, each of you were given a little ticket when you arrived today. Please don't lose that ticket, because as soon as we come back from lunch, we're going to draw some names, draw some tickets, and give away some free resources from some free books and DVDs that we bought for you. So make sure you save that little ticket.
So I guess to play it safe, guys, give the ticket to your wife. If she loses it, it's okay, but if you lose it, you'll never stop hearing about it. So.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
We are very, very different. I'm the typical male, or maybe some people might not say typical, but stereotypical male, in that when I want to buy a pair of black pants, I go to the store where they sell men's clothing, go to the section where the men's pants are, go to the rack where they have the pants, go to the section where they have the black pants, but that's what I came to get, the black pants. I will look at the size, won't even try them on, go to the cashier and pay for it, and be out of there within 5 or 10 minutes. When I get home, I'll try them on. If they don't fit, I'll ask my wife to take it back.
And not only that, he gets his black pants, he goes shopping at Costco, people. Costco to get his clothes.
Can't find them at Costco, you don't need it. My wife is the stereotypical female when it comes to shopping. She goes to the store and goes to the section where they sell pants and will try on the black pants, the white pants, the pink pants, the red pants. Then she goes to the skirt section and tries them all. Then the dress section, then the blouse section, the purse section, the shoe section. And after 3 hours, she will walk out of there with nothing.
And you know what I told him every time he tells that story? I'm like, honey, you should praise God. I didn't spend any money, right, ladies?
I do praise God.
What is the problem? What's the problem here?
We used to live in Minneapolis, or outside Minneapolis, St. Paul. Of course, those of you who know anything about that area, they have the biggest shopping center in all of the United States. It's called the Mall of America, 4 stories high, 540 stores. They have its own indoor amusement park, hotel, wedding chapel, aquarium, that all works there. You don't have to leave that place. You can move in and spend there the rest of your life because you've got it out. But if you want to preserve your marriage, you can't go there shopping together unless that's what you believe. If the most important person in your life thinks you're smart, that you're good looking, that you're capable, it doesn't matter what the whole world tells you, that's what you believe about yourself. You have that much power, ladies, over your husband. Think about this. Husbands too need to be told that they are deeply loved and appreciated. Don't just say to your husband, I love you. Tell him what you like about him, what you admire about him, what you respect him for, and you will be building him up like nothing else can. I love the Pickles is the name of this cartoon. She says to him, you could be a little more helpful around here, you know. Early says, what are you talking about? Who cleaned the toilet without being asked? She says, that's right. And then you kept mentioning it every day for a week. So he says, and think about that, sometimes you have to toot your own horn or it never gets to it. So have you heard your husband say, hey, by the way, did you notice I did the yard? He's not doing it because it's simply an innocent comment. He's saying, do you approve? Did you like what I do and what I did for you? All right, so number 2.
And number 2 is what some of you guessed was number 1, sexual fulfillment. Remember, we're talking about needs here. Here's the definition. A sexual relationship that brings out an enjoyable sexual response in both of you, and here's the other part, and that's frequent enough for both of you. So it's not just the fact that you're intimate, that you're having sexual intimacy, but also frequency. That it's frequent enough that you both agree to that.
This is probably one of those areas where we find more and more people coming to us because it's just not satisfying, because it's not often enough, because it doesn't happen, because she doesn't like it, she doesn't think about it, because he's creepy, Pastor, all he wants to have is sex. Well, but he's your husband. Would you rather he think about having sex with somebody else? Listen to this verse. Some women may have to give an account to God for the way in which they belittle or ignore their husband's sexual needs. Many marriages would blossom overnight should the wife decide to embrace this part of her husband's physical and emotional makeup. This is from Richard and Rita Tate. And then she says, or they say, when a wife begins to genuinely anticipate meeting her husband's sexual needs, romance can be reborn. It's not a physical need, it's an emotional need. Because we connect at the emotional level with you ladies when we are having sex with you. It's not just simply pleasurable, which is, but that's how we connect at the emotional level with our spouse. So when you say to your husband, I don't want to have sex, you're saying, I don't love you. I'm not interested in you. Just think about the message that you're sending to your husband. We, who might not have as strong an ego as you think we have, when you're saying to us, I don't want to have anything to do with you, I don't really care about you, at least not tonight, it destroys us. It hurts tremendously. No wonder so many have gone to look for that elsewhere, because at least it makes them feel, quote unquote, like a man. Here's an interesting one. Oh, you can have another spin, but only because it's your birthday. But I want you to notice the options. No sex, no sex, no sex, no sex. Only one option there. You think you stand a chance there? And is that the game that you play with your spouse? You know, we talked about selfish demands and how many, my wife said, how many women will say, well, you can have it, but only if you do this for me. Or if you do that, you're not going to get a piece of this. Is that how you play that game?
Wait, I told my husband, I said, my husband showed me this cartoon, I said, but look at him. He's lucky it's one spot on there. to which my husband said,
but look at her. I want to turn the lights off before I do anything here.
But we put that up there to illustrate the point, and I hope you're getting that. These cartoons really do illustrate the deeper point, that sometimes we do play games like that. And we play games with sex, especially sometimes women do. But I also want to add one thing I think we forgot to say, honey. We are talking about the most important needs for men this morning, and right after lunch, the most important needs for women. However, this is generally speaking. There are some women who will fall into some of these categories and say, well, you know what? This is one of my needs too. You know, for me, some people will say, for me as a woman, sex is one of my most important needs. So that's fine. We're talking in general terms, according to general research that's been done. But as we're talking about the most important needs for men, ladies, if you're sitting there thinking, well, you know, that really is an important need for me too, that's fine. Go ahead and mark it. Because in your homework that we're going to give you throughout this week, you're going to talk about what your most important needs are. So I just wanted to add it. It's okay if you're a woman and you think some of these that we're talking about for men is important to you. And same thing this afternoon when we talk to the ladies. If some of you men say, well, that's important to me too, then you will mark it this afternoon.
If you happen to have your Bibles, you probably have them on your phone, and you can open them to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. One of those very significant passages in the New Testament that deals with marriage. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, we'll begin in verse 1. Doesn't matter which version of the Bible you have. This year I'm reading one called the Contemporary English Bible, CEB, so I'm going to read out of that. But if you have the New King James or the NIV or whichever version you have, I think you can follow along as well. So 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1, Paul says, "Now, how you wrote, it's good for a man not to have sex with a woman." But that's when the lady said, "Amen, Pastor, preach it, preach it." But I hear a whole sermon of that. But verse 2 clarifies what verse 1 says. Each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband because of sexual immorality. So what Paul is referring to in verse 2 is that men or women who are not married should not be having sex together. There should not be sex outside of marriage, is what Paul is saying in verse 1. But because of sexual immorality, he says each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband. Verse 3, the husband should meet his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should do the same for her husband. Now let me pause here for a second. My wife mentioned earlier about pornography. We're having to deal with that issue more and more. We get calls quite often. At our office, we get, in couples retreats such as this, we have often had ladies especially that come to us and said, "My husband is involved in pornography. I saw him the other day, or I saw in the browser history that he'd been looking at some pornographic sites." Men are visual. God created us to be visual. If you think about creation, when God brought Eve to Adam, Adam didn't think, "I wonder if she cooks well. I wonder if she would be a good wife or a good mother. I wonder if she speaks well, if she sings, or if she plays the piano, or any one of those things." She saw Eve and immediately burst out in the first poem in humanity. There she is, bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. He thought she was gorgeous. We men are attracted to beauty and to beautiful women. We have different tastes, but when we see someone that attracts us, that we like, we do. I've never met a young man who sees a young girl go by and says, "Man, that girl is ugly. I would love to marry her." No, it doesn't happen that way. If we don't like someone, we just don't pay attention to that. But when we see someone that we like, we're attracted to them. So pornography plays on that by playing with our eyes, the attraction that we feel with our eyes. So the moment that we see a woman, we want to see not only her, we want to see another one, until it becomes an addiction. And I know some of you ladies are thinking, that is so disgusting. You know, the rise of pornography among women is surprising even the researchers. But for women may say, "I don't care to watch people doing things that should be done in the privacy of the bedroom, or people without clothes on. I don't like that," because your ladies, in general terms, are not visual. But yet, you will pick up a novel and read stories about the prince that comes to rescue the princess, or the multi-billionaire who takes the girl in a helicopter to his mansion and teaches her in 40 different shades how to have sex. You will read it. We will see it. And for us men, to think that we can look at our wife after looking at all those women and think that we're going to like our wife, you are deceiving yourself. Eventually, you will become completely dissatisfied with your wife. We heard of a guy that in order for him to have sex with his wife, he has to have a pornographic magazine next to her head, so as he's making love to his wife, he's looking at the picture of the magazine. And for you ladies, if you think that reading all those books that's going to increase your romantic life, I'll tell you, your husband will never compare to any of those guys in those romance novels. That's how the devil plays with us, see? But here's another reason why verse 3 is important. The husband should meet his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should do the same for her husband. For those of you who are involved in pornography one way or another, it's not just simply looking at pictures, it's that it leads you to eventually masturbate and reach an orgasm. The problem with that is that you don't belong to you. You belong to your spouse. So you're taking from your spouse something that belongs to them. That's what verse 4 says. The wife doesn't have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband doesn't have authority over his own body, but the wife doesn't. By the way, we won't spend more time talking about that, but the cycle of pornography involvement is very interesting. First comes the arousal, and you actually get the excitement of the moment, the rush of looking at these figures and getting yourself worked up until you masturbate and you have an orgasm, and then comes the deepest down, which is that horrible feeling of guilt. But the guilt leads you to do it again because you have to have that high, and you develop that cycle, which develops into an addiction. So if you don't break that addiction, you become more and more involved and less satisfied with having actual sex with your wife, because it's more satisfying for you to do it with yourself. How does that help your relationship? Verse 5. Don't refuse to meet each other's needs unless, now Paul says that there are reasons why you shouldn't have sex with your spouse. He says don't refuse to meet each other's needs unless, 4 principles here. Number 1, you both agree. Okay, so you both agree. That's the first principle. Secondly, for a short time, a short period of time. Number 3, to devote yourself to prayer. Some Bibles say to devote yourself to fasting and prayer. So of course, when it says fasting and prayer, one of the things I ask is, how long can you fast? See, Paul in his wisdom said, if you're not going to have sex because you want to devote the time to prayer and fasting, that's a good thing, because I know fasting can't last forever. Only for a short period of time. But then comes the 4th principle. Then come back together again so that Satan might not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. 4 principles. Agree together. First principle. Secondly, for a short time. Third principle, to devote yourself to fasting and prayer. 4th principle, and then immediately come back together before Satan tempts you. So my wife comes to me and says, I want to pray for our daughter. She doesn't have a job right now. I'm concerned about her. I would like to devote 2 days for fasting and prayer. So for those 2 days, let's not have sex. Now, we've come to that agreement. She's asked me about that. I said, I agree with you. In fact, I'm going to join you because I also love my daughter. I also want her to do well. So let's pray, let's fast and pray together for the next 2 days. And so let's not have any sex for those 2 days because we're devoting our time to fasting and prayer. See, it's mutual. It's for a short time to devote ourselves to fasting and prayer. And remember, there is a 4th principle. And come together again. So if we agree that we're not going to have sex or food for the next 2 days, all of Sabbath, all of Sunday, meaning the fast ends on Sunday afternoon, hey, I'll take her out to eat. Or I'll fix her dinner so that we can end the fast. And then come home together and end the other fast.
You're so generous.
Yes, of course. I'm very generous. So is something. I think one of the reasons why some women don't like or enjoy having sex with their husbands is because husbands have not learned how to prepare their wives for sex. You guys think that you work during the day, she works all day outside of the home, many of you, and then at home when she comes home and she's tired, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, and by the time she gets to bed, she's exhausted, and you stand next to her in bed and says, honey, come on, let's do it, and you think she's going to say, all right. It ain't going to happen.
Wow, that was romantic.
You guys need to learn how to prepare your wives for sex. It's something we call foreplay. And I know you've heard the term, but you might not be aware of what that means. And so I'm going to take the time, because you are adults and married couples, I'm going to take the time to explain to you how foreplay happens. And I'm going to do it in great detail, because I don't want to miss anything. But I'll warn you, I am going to be very graphic, very descriptive. I hope no one is offended. If someone is uncomfortable or offended, raise your hand and I'll stop. No one has ever done that, so I guess I'm okay. But I can tell you right now, I'm going to be very graphic about foreplay. In the morning when you wake up, make the bed, by the way. Take a shower. Hang the towel. When you get dressed and go to the kitchen and your wife is fixing your breakfast, put your arms around her, give her a kiss, and tell her you love her. Have breakfast with her. And after breakfast, you say, honey, I'll take care of washing the dishes. Have worship together. Kiss her before you leave for work. You okay so far? No one is offended? Maybe sometime around 9 or 10 in the morning, send her a text message that says something like, I'm thinking about you. Maybe a little later, send her a message or give her a call and say, honey, go fix lunch. I want to take you out to your favorite restaurant. Or maybe mid-afternoon, you can send her another message that says, I can hardly wait to get home to see you. And when you get home, give her a kiss, give her a hug, and say, honey, while you fix dinner, I'll take care of the kids. Or if you don't have kids, honey, I'll vacuum the house. Hey, after dinner, say, honey, sit down for a little while, I'll wash the dishes. And maybe fix her a nice hot bath, her favorite smelling salts, candles. Honey, just relax. I'll take care of it. That, my friends, is what foreplay is. It's what happens during the day, not what happens right before you want to have sex. I'm in Dover. I was there at a Christian bookstore with my 16-year-old daughter at that time, 16-year-old daughter, Hadassah, those of you who know Hadassah. And I saw this book, the title of it, Sex Begins in the Kitchen. And she said, Dad, you're not going to buy that book. And I said, yes, honey, because your mom and I are going to be doing more cooking from now on. She won't out. She won't be seen with me when I came to that book. Foreplay is what happens throughout the day. That's the principle of that book. It's what you do for your wife throughout the day that prepares her to be ready to have sex with you at night. But to be fair, you ladies might not know what foreplay is for a man. So I need to explain to you ladies what foreplay is for a man. I'm going to be very graphic, very descriptive. Hope you're not offended. But this is what your husband understands for foreplay. You walk in the room. That's it. Don't need a whole lot of preparation. Don't need all that stuff because we like you. We love you. We love being with you. All you have to do is walk in the room and we're thinking, honey, why not? So William Hartley would say, overcome your sexual ignorance and communicate your sexual understanding to each other. So we encourage you to read some good books on human sexuality, especially from the viewpoint of the Bible. And by the way, let me dispel a certain myth that we hear floating around sometimes. Sex is not the only thing we think about. Because we also have to eat and sleep. It's not the only thing we think about, but it is important to us. Pam gave me a Kindle, an Amazon Kindle, several years ago. I love to read, but the way I read, sometimes I have to carry 4 or 5 books in a suitcase, and it gets heavy and all that. So she thought, I'll get a Kindle. You can carry thousands of books in this little thing. But I like the feel of paper. So I wasn't sure if I was going to like this thing. So before I purchased any books, she told me that they had some free books. So I went up to the Amazon website, the Amazon Kindle website, and looked in the 2 areas that would be of interest to me: religion or theology, and relationships or psychology. And saw the book. By the title immediately I said, I want to read it. So I downloaded it. Then we went to a camp meeting in a different conference. And while we were in the hotel one afternoon, I opened the Kindle or turned the Kindle on and looked at that book, pressed the button, and opened it, and was so disappointed because all the pages were blank. I said, I'm not going to get into this kind of a thing if it's not going to work. She says, no, call technical support. So I called technical support. This lady answered, she says, hello, Amazon Technical Support, how can I help you? And I said, well, my wife gave me this Kindle. I downloaded the book. I opened it, and it's not working. The pages are blank. She said, well, what's the name of the book? So I gave her the name of the book. She said, I'm so sorry, sir. Here, I'm going to send it to you again. So delete it. Okay, now download it again. Now open it. Did all that stuff, open it. Look, pages are still blank. I'm so sorry, sir. Let me send you to 2nd level technical support. Guy answered the phone. Amazon Kindle Support, how can I help you? I explained the story. Guy says, what's the name of the book? I gave him the name of the book, and he started laughing. And then it dawned on me. Because the name of the book is What Men Think About Apart from Sex. So he said to me, no, sir, there's nothing wrong with the book. That's the way it is.
This is the true story.
Not only that, but he says, but if you would like it in print, it's $16.95. No, that's not all we think about. But it is important to us. Because by doing that with our spouse, or you doing it with your husband, you're saying to him, I love you. I care about you. You're important to me. And when you don't, you're saying, I don't love you. I don't want to be with you. I don't want to have a relationship with you. And that hurts us to the deepest core. And I know some of you ladies, well, no, also you ladies, I would think, you have a time during the month when things are a little bit more challenging, which we understand. In fact, there's a great book by a rabbi, Shmuley Boutique is his name. The name of the book is Kosher Sex. And he says that in some ways God also used the menstrual time and said don't have sex during the menstrual time, the menstrual period. And in some ways he was saying it also helps your husband to build the testosterone, so as soon as your menstrual period is over, he will have that great desire for you. So it's not just for procreation or elimination of the eggs, but also a way to awaken in him that passion that might go down untouched, if you want to say it, if you do it all the time. So God in His wisdom said, don't do it during that time, so that you will have that passion for your spouse at the end of the period. But if at the end of the period, He comes to you and you say, I have a headache. What is He supposed to do then? Then he gets angry, gets frustrated. That's why a man came to his wife with a big bottle like that and gave it to his wife, and she says, what's that? He says, it's aspirin. She says, aspirin? I don't have a headache. And he says, oh, good. Now listen to this word. A wife may demonstrate her love in innumerable other ways, but it is often negated by her rejection or lack of enjoyment of sex. You may be a great housekeeper, a gourmet cook, a wonderful mother to your husband's children, but if you turn him down consistently in the bedroom, oftentimes those things will be negated. To a man, sex is the most meaningful declaration of love and self-worth. In fact, Shmuley would say to a wife that would say, well, what if you don't feel like it? He would say, well, then fake it. And I wish we had the time to talk about this. It's one of those sessions that unfortunately we won't have time to do. But if love is a decision and not a feeling, faking it is not being hypocritical. Faking it is being loving. Because you're deciding to be loving toward your husband. Does that make sense? Not talk to me after lunch and I'll explain that to you.
The next, according to research, most important need is physical attractiveness. Keeping physically fit with diet and exercises, wearing hair and clothing in a way that he finds attractive and tasteful. Whenever we talk about this, I'm always quick to give a little qualifier. We are not talking, ladies, that you need to look like a Barbie doll. And I'm very serious about this because you can look in the news, you can look online, and there are some women who actually strive to look like a Barbie doll. They have all these surgeries and things. This is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about that I need to practice good temperance. As a woman of God, I need to take care of my body. I need to make sure that I'm clean and neat. And yes, there are some dresses or some things that I know my husband especially likes for me to wear. For some men, they've told us, you know, the only time my wife wants to look nice is if she's going out to meet someone else. There's some women like that. They don't like to keep themselves attractive for their husbands. So this is just a reminder that I need to make sure that I'm attractive to him. It really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, but I need to make sure that I'm modest, because all things in moderation, right, ladies? I'm not going to go out and spend $1,000 on a dress because I want to look nice all the time, or designer shoes, you know. That's not what this is. So qualify this. Make sure you qualify this, that I'm doing the best I can with what God gave me, that I'm looking attractive and nice, that I'm wearing clean clothes. You know, the way I was raised, my mama always says, you don't have to be rich, Pam. You don't have to have a name brand written on your shoes or on your dresses or anything else you have, but you do always have to be neat and clean. That's the way I grew up, and that's probably why today, honey, I love shopping at thrift stores still. But physical attractiveness, I do want to make sure that I look nice for him.
Take this from me as a marriage and family therapist. Flannel pajamas should be outlawed. Don't wear those things. I'm telling you, they are the least romantic thing you could ever wear for your life.
But honey, wait a minute. You took me, we lived in Minneapolis for 6 years. We lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We pastored there for 7 years. So let me tell you folks, those flannel pajamas in Minneapolis, they felt pretty good, honey.
Yes, those were some challenging years in our marriage.
Sorry, but Victoria's Secret doesn't cut the mark in Minneapolis.
There was a guy that came to me and said, Pastor, when I get home, my wife comes to meet me in this semi-transparent robe. Because it's worn and faded, that thing is. He's worn it for the last 25 years. He's still wearing it. You know, that sweatshirt your husband gave you that says University of Delaware, but it's stained full of holes. Throw it away. I'm buying a new one if you have to. But better yet, don't wear it for the bed. It's just not exciting to see someone like that, I'll tell you that. My wife and I wrote the Sabbath School Quarterly that will be published the second quarter of 2019, all on the family. And we devoted one whole week to the Song of Solomon, one of the most beautiful books and one of the most ignored books in the Bible. I don't know when was the last time you read it or looked at it. But the Song of Solomon is a very explicit book about the relationship between a man and a woman. The rabbis in the Old Testament, when they were putting the canon together, the books of the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, were a little embarrassed by it and thought about removing it, but then they said, but if it was inspired by God, how could we remove it from the Bible? So then they came up with the idea, and so did the early church fathers when the New Testament was added. They came up with the idea that the Song of Solomon is an allegory of the relationship that exists between God and the church. And that sounds pretty good until you read something like, your thighs are rounded. And I'm thinking, well, what are the thighs of the church? I don't get that. No. The Song of Solomon is a book, a description of the relationship between a man and a woman before they were married, when they consummated their marriage, when they had conflict in their marriage, and the commitment they had to live together for the rest of their lives. If you study that lesson that week, you'll see how that goes. But let me show you how important it is for a man to have an attractive wife. And again, what is attractive to one person may not be to another person, but it doesn't matter what the other think. It's what I think about my wife. Here's from the Song of Solomon, chapter 7, verses 1 to 10. By this time they are married. If you read chapter 4 of Song of Solomon, which happens before the wedding, he describes his girlfriend, his fiancée, from the top of her head to her breast, and uses 7 attributes to describe her. Talks about her hair, her eyes, her teeth, her neck, her lips, etc. 7 attributes. What is the number 7 in the Bible? The number of perfection. And in fact, she says, you are perfect, my love. But in chapter 7, when he's already married to her, he begins to describe her from her feet all the way to the top of her head, because now she's completely open to her. He's discovered her. Before, he could only see parts of her. Now he describes her from the bottom of her feet all the way to the top of her head, and these are the words that he uses. By the way, you can read this chapter, and maybe it will inspire you to say things like this to your wife, guys. How beautiful are your feet in sandals, oh, noble daughter. Your rounded thighs are like jewels, the work of a master hand. Verse 2, your navel is a rounded bowl that never lacks makes wine. Now you may have to update the language a little bit, but be careful. You know, don't say to your wife, your belly button looks like a frying pan. It's not as romantic. It doesn't sound quite as good. You know?
I always tell my husband, he said you need to update it a little. I said, You need to update that a lot because your belly is a heap of wheat. Men, trust me, don't say that to your wife.
So you may be creative, but be careful what you say to your wife. Verse 3, your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle. Your neck is like an ivory tower. Your eyes are pools in Heshbon by the gate of Bath-Rabbim. Your nose is like a tower of Lebanon which looks toward Damascus. Your head crowns you like Carmel, and your flowing locks are like purple. A king is held captive in its traps. In verse 6, how beautiful and pleasant you are, O loved one, with all your delights. Your stature is like a palm tree, and your breasts are like its clusters. I say, I will climb the palm tree and lay hold of its fruit. Oh, may your breasts be like clusters of the vine, and the scent of your breath like apples. And to that she responds, oh, and the roof of your mouth like the best wine. And she responds, it goes down smoothly for my beloved, gliding over lips and teeth. I am my beloved's, and his desire is for me. I mean, this guy took the time to describe his wife in every detail, from her feet all the way to the top of her head, because he noticed, he looked and paid attention to everything about her. In fact, I said that in chapter 4, he used 7 attributes from the top of her head to her breast, meaning you're perfect. But here in chapter 7, he used 12 attributes. What is the number 12 in the Bible? It's a complete number. 12 times 12 is 144. The 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 pillars of the temple. 12 is the number of completeness. So he's saying to her, you are complete. There's nothing that you lack. There's nothing missing there. Beautiful. That woman must have been gorgeous. In fact, I have a picture. There she is. It's beautiful. Well, at least to him, she was absolutely mind-blowingly gorgeous. That's why he took the time to describe her in great detail. Because we men are attractive to beautiful women. And if that happens to be our wife, even better. Even better. Not like the locked ones who he says to her, you call that aging gracefully? You know, when you put all that white cream or green cream on your face to, what is that, defoliate or whatever? You're not defoliating, you're just scaring your husband. Look at him. He says the estimate from the beauty parlor is in. Now, he's really mean to say that. Loretta's once $1 million figure has become loose change. Now, this is not only for women, because women like to have their husbands look nice too. Here's again one of those cartoons that is very profound. She says to her husband, explain to me why you dress nice for co-workers you hate and then come home and dress like it's love for the woman you love. Think about that. Yeah, it's not just one-sided. We both should look nice for each other.
The next one is recreational companionship. This has 2 parts, the recreation and companionship. But ladies, this was so easy to do when we were dating our husbands. Think back to your dating days. You loved spending time with your man. And it was okay if that meant all day Sunday, we sat on the couch beside each other and we watched the football game or the baseball game or whatever it is that he enjoyed. It was okay because I just wanted to spend time with him. But somehow that deteriorates after we're married for a while. Because now I don't have time to do that. I have kids now that have come along. Or I have papers to do for work. All of a sudden my career has taken a new place in our marriage from when it did when we were dating, when we were in college. I've got to worry about my career now. I've got a house to clean. I have a laundry basket full of clothes that need to be done. I don't have time to just sit anymore. And that's a huge problem in today's marriages. We're too busy today. I just want you to, don't answer out loud, but just think in your mind. Apart from today, when you have set aside today to focus on your marriage, when was the last time that you spent with your spouse an entire day just doing something fun together? No TV, no children, just the two of you reconnecting. You see, if we are not intentional about time together, I can promise you it will not happen in today's world. An easy way to tell the answer to this question would be if I said to you, let me see your phone, and I looked at your calendar. Because my guess is, if I looked at your calendar right now, I would see prayer meeting, maybe take the kids to Pathfinders, dentist appointment, a physical, go have the car serviced. I would find a lot of things like that in your to-do list. But would I find date with my wife? A date night with my husband? We have to be more intentional about doing that. We have to carve out that time, and it has to be a priority. It can't be the leftovers. It can't be, I don't have time this week because it's too busy, or I'll fit you in if there's time. We need to be intentional about spending time together, recreational companionship. Whatever it is you like to do, it can be walking around the block, holding hands. It can be, my husband and I love to go to museums together. We love history. We're really into history. So wherever we travel, we like to find out the history of the place. Whatever it is you like to do, but please don't let technology be a part of it, because technology is robbing us of this recreational companionship time. In fact, if we were to turn off the TVs and turn off Facebook and turn off our cell phones, wow, even if you just devoted a portion of that time that you're spending now, a week on that, if you just took a portion of that and dedicated it to your relationship, we would have a lot of marriages different, a lot of marriages improving. We talk to couples all the time that don't even take vacations together. They have vacation time. It's allotted at work, but we're just too busy to take it. So we have to be more intentional about spending time together, quality time. Not just time, but quality time together, reconnecting.
I don't know if you filled in the blanks. Recreational companionship defined as developing interest in your favorite recreational activities, learning to be proficient in them, and joining in those activities. So the three words: interest, learning, and joining. Then we have domestic support, which by definition is the creation of a home environment for you that offers a refuge from the stresses of life, managing the home and the care of the children. It is important for us men to be able to go home and find a haven for us. Now in today's society, sometimes both spouses work outside of the home. And you can't, guys, you can't expect that your wife will work outside of the home and then come home and take care of the kids and cook and clean and all those things, while you simply sit and watch TV and enjoy yourself. If you want to enjoy the peace and quiet that you long for, help your wife. You can clean the house just as much as she does. You can cook as much as she does. You can take care of the kids as much as she does. The point though, ladies, is if you don't cooperate with him either, if the moment he walks in the house, you already have a list of to-dos, you're really blowing him out of the water. Give him some time to disconnect from the world. John Gray, who wrote that book, Men Are From Mars and Women From Venus, says that we men need a cave. I think that's where the idea of the man cave came from. But basically what it says is that we men need a cave, a place where we can disconnect from the world, from all the activities of the day, and then be able to prepare for connecting with the family. So to you ladies, I say, give your husband that time, that cave time. To you guys, I say, don't stay in the cave. Go in the cave, whatever that means. Take your shower, sit down for a few minutes and look at the newspaper, your emails, whatever it is, for a few minutes, and then join the family and help your wife in the things that she needs help with. But if you ladies, the moment your husband walks in, you said the pipe burst and the car has a flat tire and Johnny got in trouble in school and this and that and the other, it's too much for him. Some men have chosen to just work late. Come home late when the wife and kids are already sleeping, so I don't have to hear all that stuff. That's what that means. Here's an idea. He's coming home and he's thinking, there's nothing like coming home at the end of the long day. He opens the door to hear, stop it, making all the stuff. He finally sits down and says, to make the office seem like a sanctuary. So is that the way it feels at home when you come home? I'd rather just stay in the office, because here at home it drives me completely crazy. They say behind every successful man there's a woman working 24 hours a day trying to make him successful. That again is a very important message, because yes, I have to say, it is true that behind every successful man there is a good strong woman. But it shouldn't mean that she has to do it all alone, but rather that you guys help your wives. You share in everything. That's what it means to become one flesh. You share in everything. The expenses, the income, the children, the sleeping, the working, the cleaning, all those things. Let's share in those things together. That's why Proverbs chapter 21, verse 19, ladies, for those of you who like to nag, better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman. You think you're going to get your husband to do something by nagging? It is not working. A continual dripping on a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. There's nothing like having this drip. You know, the other day, Sherry, we were in Bob, we were in your background in Portland, Oregon, and in the one hotel where we stayed, there was something dripping over the bathroom fan all night long. Drip, drip, drip. I could not sleep all night, and that's what happens when my wife nags and nags. Unfortunately, she doesn't. And if she did, that's exactly how it goes. Listen to this. This is very, very important. Ladies, if a man says he will fix it, he will. There's no need to remind him every 6 months about it. He'll do it. Don't worry. He will do it. Here's a good marriage tip. Your wife won't start an argument with you if you're cleaning. When you're vacuuming the house, when you're washing dishes, she's probably not going to start an argument with you. This is another one that's actually better than that. No woman has ever shot a man while he was washing the dishes. That's a historical thing. So there you have the 5, according to Willard Harley anyways, the 5 most important emotional needs for men. As Pam said earlier, it doesn't mean that if you ladies find one of those that is important to you, it doesn't mean that you're a man, you're still a woman. But it just happens to be important to you. And as we look at the 5 most important emotional needs for women, one of you guys might say, well, man, that's important to me. Well, it doesn't mean that you're a woman, it just means that that is important to you. And as you see those this afternoon, we'll explain more of that.
We want to make sure that we come back together at 1 o'clock. We're going to break now for lunch, because right at 1 o'clock we're going to have the drawing for some materials that we have brought to give away. So make sure you have your tickets. And we're going to be talking about ladies. So ladies, you will not want your man to be late and ready right at 1 o'clock. Pastor, do you have any announcements for lunch?
Yes, thank you so much. All right. Has it been a blessing?